We made it, friend! I'll teach you how to be an adventurer!
The Marvelous Misadventures of Flapjack is the forefather to the latest generation of cartoons. While many people have no recollection of the show due to Cartoon Network's 2009 rebranding and shifting programming blocks, others fondly remember Flapjack as one of those weird things you couldn't convince your friends you just saw. If you haven't sat down and watched this show and have only seen clips here and there, you can easily mislabel the show as SpongeBob meets Ren and Stimpy on the harbor, with some Courage the Cowardly Dog, but that's not really it at all, and I'm here to put those notions to rest.
Overall enthusiasm, overall enthusiasm, overall enthusiasm, yeah!
Love it or hate it, this show was important. Flapjack was the seed that germinated into the new age of animation storytelling. How, you ask? Well, Alex Hirsch was a writer and artist on Flapjack before he created Gravity Falls. Pendleton Ward was a writer and artist on Flapjack before he created Adventure Time. J.C. Quintel was a creative director and artist on Flapjack before he created Regular Show. Ghost Shrimp, aka Dan James Bandit, was an artist on Flapjack before he became the background designer on Adventure Time. This show was the early stomping grounds for the new animation giants, and I can say it was a pretty underrated gem, just like Chowder. By the way, you can check out my Chowder review right here. I really like Flapjack, but to be honest, it was a difficult show to watch consistently. Sometimes when it was playing on TV, I wasn't compelled to watch it, and I really can't pinpoint that to anything in particular. The show is surprisingly funny, wacky, and generally fun to watch, but getting into the right mindset to experience Flapjack probably turned many people off of the show. Some people attribute this to the art style, which isn't very colorful and has a lot of gross character designs, and hey, I get it, but if you actually sit down and watch the show, you'll see it's really well done. There are definitely misconceptions about the show, so I'll be spending the rest of the video talking about them. Myth 1. Flapjack is just SpongeBob. Just because Flapjack has a sunny disposition and a repetitive, high-pitched laugh, and Knuckles happens to look a little bit like Squidward with his big nose, blue skin, constant torment, and bad luck, and Stormalong has a lot of similarities to Bikini Bottom with its nautical atmosphere and setting.
Actually, I'll check on Phoenixpen's arguments, which have not helped debunk this myth.
So this is one of those times where evidence doesn't exactly match up to reality. Even though Flapjack shares similar elements to SpongeBob, it's significantly different. Flapjack invokes a particular time and place, while SpongeBob could be taking place in really any location or time period. Knuckles is actually nice to Flapjack at times, saving him and trying to be a better person. And most of the time, Flapjack's kindness and golden heart end up saving the day in a super grimy and crapsack world. But on the positive SpongeBob similarity, Flapjack was a very quotable show at times. Putting aside the SpongeBob comparison, Myth 2. Flapjack is Ren and Stimpy. This show is not Ren and Stimpy, not by a long shot. Let's just get this out there. Not every show that has gross imagery is trying to be Ren and Stimpy. Flapjack's imagery is wacky and sometimes overly detailed and gross, but it fits with the setting and overall general pirate adventures that the cast go on. It's not gross for grossness' sake, it's actually to punctuate how much Flapjack contrasts with the rest of Stormalong, and how nasty and gross Knuckles is. If you were to make a mashup of all the gross moments in the show, then sure, you can paint the picture that this is a totally gross out based show, but that's just not true. Some episodes don't have gross out moments, and other moments that could be seen as gross out are actually very small jokes that pass quickly. I know a lot of people hate shows that have gross out moments, but very often Flapjack implies how gross something is without actually making it terribly detailed. Like these fish head monsters that are covered in human hair, and they're not that gross. They sound gross, but they generally don't look that bad. The show somehow makes a crapsack world seem fun, and Knuckles and Flapjack's adventures are fun to watch regardless of the gross factor. One note about the visual style is I think the show would not work without it. Myth 3. It's trying too hard to be like Courage. Another thing that's overstated is how horrific and scary this show is, and while it has maybe 4 or 5 actually freaky moments, it's nothing compared to Courage the Cowardly Dog. The only real DNA that Courage and Flapjack share is that both shows have bizarre plots that involve monsters and creatures. As a character, Flapjack is very upbeat and naive, and that takes a lot of the tension out of scary situations he ends up in. Knuckles is also semi-indestructible, so it's not too dire when he's in danger. There are some scary moments such as the stop motion and extremely detailed shots that are potentially very freaky. Also, some characters like Dr. Barber and Candy Wife are just plain unsettling. So I can see that being a big part of why people see similarities between the shows. So yeah, it's true, this show does have some weird and scary moments, but other than the mixed media element, there are plenty of shows that have spooky and gross things happen in them. I don't think Flapjack was ever trying to be Courage the Cowardly Dog, and you can tell that the character, setting, and tone are completely different. This is again attributing elements from past shows while not looking at Flapjack in a holistic way. And so, what exactly is Flapjack? It's not SpongeBob, it's not really Ren and Stimpy, and it's not Courage, but it does have similar character archetypes, gross out humor, and existential horror. But it doesn't fit neatly into any box, and it doesn't mesh too well with the cartoons that followed in its footsteps. Nowadays, it's much more of a cult hit for fans, but it still has detractors that never really cared for the elements that made Flapjack's misadventures so marvelous. And that's the ultimate joke! Flapjack wasn't really marvelous, it was grimy, weird, gross, and mean, and although we've had cartoons like that, the visual style here was extremely different and specific to Stormalong and the wacky characters you just wouldn't find anywhere else. Flapjack was a melting pot for artists, creators, and producers that springboarded the next wave of great animated shows. Ultimately, this show was like a saltwater taffy. It had some familiar flavors, and some people just couldn't get into it, while others appreciated its unique and specific flavor that made the experience so memorable and so different. I hope you enjoyed this video. Check out my other reviews and things by clicking on the links, and if you have any suggestions for shows or movies, you can leave them in the comments below. Thanks for watching and have a nice day!